tuning in to the Illuminations Podcast. We love having you here. It is our mission to be a beacon of light on your journey towards conscious and mindful living. In our weekly episode, we bring you inspiring change makers in the field of spirituality, healing, personal growth, and wellness who share their insight and expertise so you can navigate your way to a happier, healthier, and more purposeful life. What happens when the image you've built, the body, the brand, the applause, no longer feels like you? Welcome to another episode of the Illuminations Podcast. I'm sitting down with someone whose story caught my attention in the best way possible. Ash Edelman, the global spotlight as a male stripper and a pro bodybuilder, to a life in a silent monastery in Thailand. And now as a mindset coach helping high performers reconnect with their inner truth. Ash's journey isn't about reinvention, it's about remembrance. He hit rock bottom in 2023 when the outside world looked perfect, but on the inside, it was quietly falling apart. What came next was a complete shift into stillness, breath, and radical honesty. So if you've ever looked like you had it all together while secretly questioning who you really are, this conversation will meet you there and maybe help bring you home. So welcome in joining us for another episode on the Illuminations World Podcast. So Ash, welcome to another episode of the Illuminations World Podcast, or should I say consciously Ash?
Thank you very much for having me.
Well, you know what really caught my attention was your journey from a stripper to a monk. And I was like, I have to meet this guy and learn more about exactly what brought you to this transition. So I would love to hear your story.
Well, I think, look, back in 2013, I went traveling. I thought, look, I want to see the world. Mm-hmm. So I went traveling, came home, spent all my money. My parents were like, look, you need to get yourself a job back in the UK. Mm-hmm. Get yourself a job, we'll pay for you. Mm-hmm. So I got a job as a stripper. But I told them I was doing security.
And why stripper?
Well, look, I figured I used to get drunk and naked in the army for free because I was in the military as well.
Oh, wow. So tell us about the journey from
military.
being in the military.
Okay. So I joined the military when I was 17. Mm-hmm. I needed something to do because I was growing up in a pretty dead-end town. Mm-hmm. So it got me away. So I did 5 years in the military and it was good, but I spent more time drinking and playing touch football than actually anything else. Mm-hmm. I missed out on 3 deployments and I'm grateful. Although I did lose friends that were deployed, but I'm grateful that I didn't go because it instilled a discipline in me that would come in later in life, especially when it came to bodybuilding. Right. Once I left the military, I went and worked in the mines.
And why did you leave the military?
So they put me on, it was a 3rd deployment. Mm-hmm. And basically, I was like, I should be going. And they were like, no, we're going to post you to Darwin. And Darwin is almost like here, very hot. So I was like, I don't want to go. Mm-hmm. So I'm going to put in my discharge. Mm-hmm. And I tried to call his bluff to get me to stay in Brisbane. Mm-hmm. But he goes, no, you discharge then. So I left the military. That was it.
And now you're in a very hot place again.
I don't know. Ironically, I'm actually, I know, I'm kind of where I didn't want to go.
So what you resist always persists.
Always. But yeah, once I left there, I said I worked in the mines. So I literally went from staying in Brisbane in a beautiful temperature to over to Western Australia and up in the mines, I was in that weather anyway. Mm-hmm. So I was working on the train line. So we were installing hot bearing detection sites, which basically stop carriages rolling over with iron ore. I did the year there. I made 160 grand Australian and I was like, this is incredible. When a 22-year-old has that amount of money and doesn't have any money literacy, I spent it all as well.
And who were your clients? Tell me a little bit about that. Like, how was it like being a stripper? All the attention that you were getting as a man, like what did that do for you?
Well, look, when I first started, the first stripping was, again, the first time I ever got fully naked in front of a group of people was the day my parents found out that I was actually a stripper and not doing security.
And how did they react?
A text message saying, we're not upset, we're just disappointed. I know.
That's even worse.
Yeah, that was that.
I mean, you'd rather have them shouting and screaming at you?
Every time.
That just hits below the belt.
Every time. But over the years, they saw what I went into because the stripping that I turned into with Fit and Nights, I started off as a stagehand. Mm-hmm. And I said I'd work for free because I saw what they had and I wanted to be a part of it.
Mm-hmm. So what did you want to be a part of?
What they had is the show. So Forbidden Nights, they were like sexy circus. So it was 5 guys, all solo routines plus group routines. And it was just fun. It was a bunch of friends. But they had 300 screaming women in the crowd. And I was like, I want to be a part of this.
That must do a lot for your male ego.
I mean, it literally, at the start, it was. Like, that part was amazing. But what I was learning, like, again, I said to him, I'd work for free. I just wanted to be a part of it. And it was more because I enjoyed the energy of what the boys were with the family. Don't get me wrong. The women were amazing.
And is that because you were in the military and everything was so restricted that over here you could just express yourself and be completely free?
No, hell no. This is always me. Like, I'd moved to the UK with nothing. I had 300 pounds to my name. Like, I had an opportunity to create a life that I'd never dreamt of before. Like, all of my friends that I was in the military with, that I went to school with, were still back home. I'm the one who's up and left. So I was like, cool, I'm going to make something of this. I have nothing left to lose. So I don't remember how I was making money. I was struggling, but that's where I found out Asking It Is Given by Esther Hicks.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, that was one of my first books. And that got me on the power of manifestation. So through this entire time, over 10 years, I was not only a stripper, we were performing in some of the biggest stages around the UK. We did Britain's Got Talent in 2015.
Wow.
I became a professional bodybuilder in 3 federations. At the same time, I was a personal trainer and online coach. I was married, and I had all of these things that were happening around me, which everything was teaching me a lesson. Like, when you look at bodybuilding, okay, so you're prepping for 20 weeks to stand on stage against 40 other guys, to be told by people who have no idea who you are if you're good enough or not. And that is the height of vulnerability, because in that stage, you're at low calories, you're barely any food, your emotions are all over the place. I had one competition where I didn't even get called out, and there were only 15 guys. I remember as soon as that happened, I was stood at the back thinking, put a smile on my face, going, what is wrong with me? I questioned everything. That was the start of everything was going wrong. And that was through bodybuilding. But then with performing, I wasn't a dancer, I played rugby. So I tripped over my own 2 feet. They had to teach me to dance. It took me 3 weeks to learn half a routine.
And how did that help you, like, with your own personal growth, like dancing? I
learned that I could fully be who I am. Because when you step on stage and, like, you look at Broadway, if you step out of line, you're in trouble.
Yeah.
We messed up all the time, especially myself. You'd see me, I'd mess up, I'd miss something, I'd stand there, go like that, and then jump back in. But I made sure sure people saw that I messed up, because I knew that I messed up. So everyone would laugh and everyone would find that human side of me. And it allowed me to then become more comfortable with myself as speaking on stage and being more comfortable with just being in that presence of having people laugh at me doing something silly, but also knowing that because I owned it, it doesn't define me and it makes me more human. So that was the best thing about being on those stages and learning about myself.
Right.
But yeah, I think as well, look, the ego at the start was a very big thing because you had 300-400 women there screaming for you to take your clothes off, but it gets old very quickly.
Yeah.
Very quickly.
Like everything in that.
Exactly. And it got to the point where I couldn't care who was in the crowd. At the end of the day, I always thought I was in the business of changing lives.
Right.
People are laughing, people are having fun, men or women, doesn't bother me. They're having fun. That's it. We even would have people message us after the show saying, thank you so much. I haven't slept with my husband in years, but after your show, it made me feel alive again. So she was able to go ravish her husband. Like, we were literally saving marriages.
Amazing.
And that was a beautiful thing about this.
That's healing and therapy of a different kind.
It was. And not only that, it's like the other groups that we had that were in the same industry, there's a lot of arrogance with those guys. Where we were very friendly. And with that, it created that element of people feeling like they could trust, they could talk to us and develop that sort of a friendship, which was beautiful. Because there is a lot of ego in that world, especially with the adult industry, because I did OnlyFans as well. So I was in this whole thing where there was a lot of ego, but it's learning to separate yourself from that ego within that within those spaces, to be able to keep your humility about you.
Amazing.
Yeah.
So then you were a stripper, and then how did things fall apart, and what led you to becoming a monk?
So I was a stripper in the UK. I then got divorced. I moved back to Australia and I started stripping again back in Australia. The energy was very different there.
So why did you move back to Australia?
Well, because I was married. We were going for my citizenship, but once we got divorced or started going through the divorce, the UK no longer felt like home. As much as all my friends are there, I had to go back home.
Right.
And I started stripping back in Australia, and it was very different. So instead of having a full theatre show, we had each had a routine, 15 minutes, and you get 5 people on stage within those 15 minutes. Now, as much as I enjoyed the performance at the time, what I didn't realize was you're taking in the energy from everyone. Because people are coming to these shows, they're going through divorces, breakups, all these sorts of things. You're mixing alcohol and drugs with it. Next, you know, you're bringing their dodgy energy into your intimate space.
Absolutely.
And without acknowledging this at the time, I was then going through my own habits, old habits, drinking, taking drugs, sleeping around. And they were leaving me feeling very empty. Not only that, the group that we were performing with, they promised us a certain wage, but where they put us, where we said we wanted to be, we couldn't earn that much. Right. So, and then obviously feeling undervalued, feeling all these things. So I wasn't feeling like, it just didn't feel right. And it got to the point to get that cheer, to get the end rush, is I was having to get naked at the end of the show and then be able to wave everything everywhere. And it wasn't fulfilling. It
started to feel empty. You know, you mentioned something really interesting, that like it stopped feeling like home. And I'm sure through your journey as a monk, as a mindset coach, as a breathwork practitioner, we often realize that home is really never about a place. It's truly about a feeling, and it's truly about being completely at peace within yourself. I think, you know, we realize, because it doesn't matter where you are. It doesn't matter who you're with. It doesn't matter what you're doing. But if you're not at peace, I guess that's what really home feels like today, because, you know, the world is so small. We keep traveling to different places and, you know, we say, oh, this feels like home, but only for a while, up until it doesn't. So home seems to feel like these days,
home is
just
a
feeling within yourself, you know, which is about being at peace. So I
couldn't agree more.
So how did that transition happen? You were in Australia, and when was that aha moment? Or
so I was doing breathwork actually, because everything, I had a falling out with my parents. My best friend, he wasn't living with me at the time. He was up with his ex-girlfriend, and I was in a 2-bedroom apartment alone. And everything else was, as I said, with work, we just felt like everything was collapsing around me. Right. And I did a breathwork session, and I've been doing breathwork for a long time. And I had a download which said you need to become a breathwork facilitator. So I then reached out to 2 people, and one of them took me to Western Australia, where I lived for about 6 months, 7 months. Right. And the other one brought me, not brought me here. It was, I work with him. He lives here, but I work with him and run retreats with him.
Okay, so let's take a step back. Here you have a guy in the military, a guy who becomes a stripper. His male ego is at its peak, comes back, is drinking, is, you know, just partying it up, living his life, and does breath work and has a download. To the average male, that sounds so, you know, woo-woo, but it clearly happens. And when it happens, it feels so real. So can you just expand a little bit more about that?
Okay, so basically the breath work I'd been doing, because I was doing it for bodybuilding, because we had to learn to breathe. Right? I always thought breathing was a big thing for bodybuilding, plus also having it as a part of a morning routine, because for me, I need a morning routine. So I had my breath work as a part of that. With this download that happened, it was just a normal breath work session, but it hit me almost like a thought, which was like, you need to do this. It wasn't just a regular thought. It was one of those thoughts that hit me with that much conviction. This is what you need to do. Right. So I was like, okay, let's do this. So I started just messaging people, but at the same time, I started getting back into my own personal development. I started back with audiobooks. I started back with podcasts. I started back learning human design, Kabbalah, different other parts of myself where I wanted to go deeper to understand more. So I started opening my mind again. Because I've always read books. I've always listened to podcasts. I've always been into
like
personal
the seed
growth.
Was always there.
It was always there.
Yeah. It just wasn't blossoming yet.
Exactly. So like that book, Ask and It's Given. If I look back at the affirmations I used to say to myself, everything was very external. I used to, the second I wake up and the moment I went to bed, it was always, I'm successful, I am rich, I am wealthy, I'm financially free, financially independent. Everything was financial, because I wanted to make sure that I could live a life where I was able to get out of where I was.
And the universe showed it to you, and yet you were not at peace.
Exactly.
That's so ironic, because I think that so many people who come into this whole world of manifestation are always looking to change the external, like, for example, the relationship, the job, the house, the car. And a lot of people end up so-called manifesting it, only to realize that it really is not what they wanted in the first place. All they really wanted was peace and happiness and a becoming of something new. And I think when people actually go through that realization of getting everything that they want and then realizing it's still making them feel empty, I think that's when the awareness of the shift happens, that it's really not about anything on the outside. It's like when we go through the breakdown, when we go through the relationship issue, we're always looking to either change the job or, change the location, and we think we'd be happier. Yeah. But that's like the world is only a mirror of what's happening inside. And that's almost like going and just trying to clean the mirror when all you need to really do is internally reflect and just look within yourself. So that has been, and I think when people need to go through the kindergarten and then to the elementary school and then the middle school, and then you reach high school and then you graduate and you're like, okay, now I reached the school of life.
No, I couldn't agree more.
Yeah.
I couldn't agree more. It's exactly that. People I'll be happy when.
Yeah.
I'll be happy when. And it's like, it's not about the when. You can be happy now. Okay, well, you can't be directly happy now. Like, especially if you have to go through and you do the work.
Right.
But it takes that time sitting with yourself and going inwards.
Right.
And starting to work through the shadows, the things that you push down, the things that you don't address. Once you clear those, you move through the anxieties, you move through the fears.
Right.
The happiness is on the other side of that.
And do you feel a lot of people require a mentor or coach to help you get there? Because I know that I think when the student is ready, the teacher just appears, right? And so probably the teacher manifested in your life in the form of initially books and podcasts and breathwork classes and just a message from a person, an inspirational quote from what you saw on Instagram. It could be something small, but the nudge gets, louder and louder. And so from your perspective, do you feel you always needed a coach or a mentor, or was the journey completely on your own?
So the journey started completely on my own. I did have, when I got diagnosed with ADHD, I started working with an ADHD coach. It was good, but it just helped me not even come to terms with it, because it just explained so many things once I got the diagnosis. I was like, oh, cool. Okay, sweet. That explains that.
Yeah.
But most of it was done by myself.
Right.
It was done by myself because no one around me understood, and I couldn't find someone that was able to. And if I did, they were in it for the wrong reasons, and you could feel the energy from them very quickly. So a lot of it was by myself. But that's why when I moved to Western Australia, I started with this whole journey of becoming a breathwork facilitator. Right. But even in this part itself, there were so many lessons that I still needed to learn. I was then going through abandonment wounds. I was going through my own learning and history and growth through this experience, but it was connecting me to so many more deeply spiritually connected people.
Right.
And from that's where I found the monastery. And when I found the monastery, I was like, this is something I've wanted to do my entire life, but I've never thought I could go for a year or 2 years or whatever it is. So when I found this, and
you found this monastery in Australia?
No, I was in Thailand. Okay. And I saw a video of a guy called Kevin, and he was sitting on a plane, and basically he had the phone there, he had hair, and then he went like this, and he had no hair. And instantly I was like, what happened? So I went into his page and I saw Monastery. And basically it's a monastery in Chiang Mai, about an hour and a half north of Chiang Mai, where what they've done is they've created a 30-day experience for Westerners to come and experience monk life. Because most monks are going for 3 months, a year, 2 years, 5 years of life, where a lot of Westerners, we don't have the attention span to go and do that. But we know we need to switch off and to be able to experience something a little bit different.
Yeah.
So you go for a month, you remove technology, you remove social media, everything.
No phones. No
phones, no nothing. It is literally, your day is morning chanting, chores, breakfast, mid-morning meditation, lunch, afternoon meditation and Dharma classes, evening chanting, evening meditation. You're meditating 6 hours a day, but it's not silent. It's a moment where like you've got your group of guys there. You're all on this journey. Everyone's on their own respective journey, but you're all there to learn to go a bit deeper. Everyone has their reason for wanting to be there, but at the core of it, everything is to go inwards. Yeah. Like one guy I was there with, he was literally there because if he wasn't, he'd be dead. because he'd been in and out of rehab his entire life. He's now been there for a year. There were other guys that were there that had been through living in ashrams or through India, had studied different religions, had different philosophies, everything to try to find out what he was destined for in his life. I have a lot of respect for him because he is a very deeply connected man, but he's also deeply lost. Because he's, as much as he can go inward and have these beautiful experiences, he's still looking for something more than what's here. And that's what I find with a lot of people is they get stuck on this journey and they go, oh, I need to be doing the next thing. I need to be constantly doing this. I need to do this. And they're chasing that high. But it's not about chasing high and trying to do as many different things as you can. How will you feel within you?
Absolutely.
How are you in here?
Absolutely. You brought up a really interesting point because as someone who's run a wellness center for over 20 years, we've had more than 80,000 people walk through that door. And I find that a lot of people are looking for that blue pill. So they think they're going to come for that training program or that therapy or that healing or, for that class. And our job as a platform is to offer everything that's out there. But in the end, I think what's really important, it's not just about the teacher or the guru or the mentor or the retreat or even the ashram or the monastery. It's really about what you do in your everyday life. So you spoke about consistency, you spoke about routine, you spoke about really reconnecting with yourself because we all have that presence of God within us. We all have that presence of the universe existence, but we rarely take out the time and opportunity to actually listen to what that wisdom says. And it doesn't scream, it doesn't shout, it simply quietly whispers. And everything that you were talking about earlier, like the breath work, the routine, and nobody can get you there, no coach, no mentor, no teacher, but it's just about reconnecting with that self on a daily basis. And so I think that's probably what you were doing, and everything from your breath work to your morning routine kind of gave you that awareness. And every day was a little bit more awareness, just a little bit more awareness, just a little bit more awareness, till it reached a stage where you're actually empowered on your own, that you might attend the course or the workshop to maybe have an expansion, but it's not an escapism and it's not a dependency on something outside of you to heal. So that was a really good point that you brought up.
I think that's one thing that a lot of people miss. A lot of people go to someone, they go, I need to go to a healer. I have my healer. I have this. It's like, they're not a healer. The person holds a space for you to be able to do your own healing. And that's the thing, like you, as you just said perfectly, is I went through this journey on my own. I did my own healing, but it was the guidance that I had from different external sources that I was able to expand my consciousness to go, okay, this, for my own healing. I think people are, again, it's like with religion. A lot of people are putting their love into something that's outside themselves, expecting everything to happen. You are the power. You are everything within yourself.
Absolutely.
So again, if the journey starts within, and I think that's the one thing that people, again, they keep forgetting. They get caught in this. I can't remember the name for it. But basically, they're chasing this external spirituality, and they go, I've got the feathers, I've got the beads, I've got all these things wrapped around me. I'm spiritual. But internal, you're chaotic.
You're trendy.
Exactly. Look, socially, cool. You look like you're spiritual, but go inwards. Like, how can your energy shows so much different than what your external shows? And I think that's what people are getting a bit skewed at the moment. Like, I'm not saying deeply connected people don't look like that. I love beads. I wear them everywhere. But the difference is what is the journey inwards?
I definitely find there's a bit of superficialness in the wellness industry today.
100%.
Everything is about, walking into a place and getting the best matcha latte, taking a picture on Instagram, going to a reformer class, and then from the reformer class, like taking a picture of a really nice quote, putting it on Instagram. Everything is about what is being seen about, but rarely being understood and being seen from within. I think, and I just feel like, it's interesting because the good part about that is that at least people are, meditating and doing breath work rather than going and drinking alcohol and God knows doing what else, right? So that shift is actually a great thing, I agree. People are looking at connecting with people, like social wellness clubs have erupted because I think people are finding a new way to connect with people, which does not involve bars, nightclubs, alcohol.
Yep.
And so I think that's a great shift. But
I agree.
with everything in life, there's something that's great about it and something that could be worse.
It's polarity. We wouldn't exist without polarity.
Exactly.
100%. And look, it's beautiful because social media, we need social media.
Absolutely.
You need these things to catch the attention of people.
Right.
Like it has to happen. It all works in yin and yang.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. So the people in the monastery, what was it like when you left, like after the 30 days?
I mean, a lot of people, I've spoken to a lot of monks that have been there previously, and they really struggled when they left. For me, I knew that I wasn't there for life. Like I had so I had some very deep experiences whilst I was there. Some very deep experiences. I had my awakening when I was there. That was wild. But the final thing that I had was a message which said, another download, it was again clear as day, which said you have to come to Dubai. And it's because like Dubai is safe. The world is in chaos. Everyone is coming here. Look how much construction is around here. Like there's constantly people coming here. And with the shift, pardon me, there's a lot of ego here in Dubai.
Yeah.
But with that, those people are the ones that have the money that can change the world. But for them to do that, they need to go inwards.
Absolutely.
And they need the people that are grounded enough to be able to help support that shift with them. So I came out of the monastery, and 2 days later, I got a phone call saying you have to be out of your house back in Australia. So I was like, well, there's my sign. Just go to Dubai. But I was able to integrate very quickly.
Yeah.
Like, look, when I was in there, you respect the rules they have. Okay. But I was still having bits where I was still myself. I was still joking. They were asking stories about me stripping and all these sorts of things. So I was still able to share those stories. Even though I was able to do this, I was still able to go very deep in my meditation. So I think because I maintained the balance between, and that's what they talk about. They talk about finding the middle way.
Right.
Yes, finding the middle way through Buddhism is one thing, but I believe it's finding your middle way.
Absolutely.
Because a lot of people try to go too far to one side, going, I have to believe this, I have to believe this. It's like, no, it's find your middle way.
Yeah.
You find your middle way, you find your inner harmony because you have the balance within your life.
Yeah.
So I was able to come out and I found that. I still meditate. I've gone from doing 6 hours of meditation a day to an hour a day. I do breath work personally, probably about 3 times a week. I facilitate breath work.
Yeah.
But a lot of the content I put out as well has come from a place of removing myself from the way that I used to think.
Right.
And coming from a more, when I came back to social media, the condition was that I'm only posting whatever is authentic to me. I'm posting whatever I feel needs to be posted, and I'm posting what I need to hear. Because
so it's with intention, not attention.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Because
so many people are posting, just to get attention, and because it feels like you're being connected to something as well. Even I struggle with that, many times. Like, am I posting pictures of my holiday because I want people to know that I'm traveling? Like, what is the purpose? What is the intention? But sometimes it's once in a while, it's nice to share a balance 100%. About your life. And okay, I'm human. I do these things outside of spirituality and meditation.
100%.
But I've never been great with social media. I mean, everybody tells me that you've been in the wellness space for the last 15 years. You should be having 100,000 followers. But I just felt for me, spirituality was something that was so private before. And obviously, I think I'm a very shy personality as well. So it took me a while for me to get out of my shell and, even probably, host this podcast because I used to have an issue with my speech, and speech was one of the things, like, how could I go on a podcast having an issue with stammering, And so, but I think, as we were talking about earlier, once you start to kind of overcome the initial fear and really you're doing it because you have a value to add and you want to express your truth. And in that expression comes so many beautiful interactions, like, for example, with yourself and everybody you meet kind of, especially within this line of work, is so interesting because there's a connection at some level. Why did I contact you? And what was the purpose? Like, how did I come through your Instagram? It was because you were obviously posting about things and so that's a really nice part about it. And as much as possible, at least 80% of the time, it's important to stick to that sort of intention rather than attention.
I agree. Because that's all my social media used to be. It was all attention to get the likes. Because the more people saw me as a stripper, the more I got booked, the more I could travel the country, the more I could do those things. Where now, at the end of the day, we all face the same emotions, all of us. It's just under different severities, experiences, and situations.
Right.
But at the end of the day, we all face anger or fear or jealousy or rage or whatever it may be in some form.
Absolutely.
So if I can share what I'm going through, what I may need to hear at that point in time, it may not be the exact experience you're going through, but you can then relate to the emotion that I've then shared.
Right.
And that's what I see is the big shift in this, with this whole collective consciousness awakening. A lot of people, especially coming to here, you could look like a yogi, and you could come and tell these people, guys, do breathwork and meditate.
Yeah.
They're all going to go away. I don't want to listen to you.
Yeah.
But if you have someone that comes in there that has a story where they've lived a life where they go, okay, I see that.
Yeah.
It makes it more relatable.
Absolutely.
So that was my goal. That's why I'm going to come in here. I'm going to do this. I'm going to share.
And it's really brave and courageous of you, because your story is not conventional by any means.
Ooh. But look, I think the big thing as well, because again, as I said earlier, I did OnlyFans, I did all sorts of things. And I think the biggest thing with this is I see a lot of women that are coming out of OnlyFans, coming out of the adult industry. Yeah. They're getting criticized because they're shifting. Yeah. And that's another thing that I'm making sure is, because I'm sharing my story, it's like they need to be acknowledged as well. Yeah. Because look, a lot of these people that make judgments on them usually are very ill-informed about their life, have no idea who they are, how they grew up. Most of the people back in the UK were signing up to their OnlyFans behind the scenes, but also giving them slack to the front. And it's like, at the end of the day, everyone is here for a reason. Absolutely. Every single person has a purpose in life. Everyone's mission is different. So they've gone through their journey to evolve. Right. Just like Tom's gone through his journey to evolve to where he is. Just like Stephanie's gone through her journey to evolve to where she is. Right. We all have to come through the darkness to experience, to understand the light.
Absolutely. And it's not for anyone to judge.
Exactly.
So you left the monastery and, you talked about integration, because I think that is one of the key things for so many people. And I think a lot of people who kind of escape to ashrams. And I say this because when I first got involved in my healing journey, I went and I visited all the ashrams in India. I mean, I'm originally Indian, never lived there, but I felt that I wanted to explore this land of spirituality and mysticism. And, so much of breathwork and yoga is all originated from India. So I visited many ashrams and monasteries in Rishikesh and the Himalayas and stuff. And one thing I did notice was that a lot of people were, of course, genuinely there because they're interested and passionate about spirituality and they want to expand. But a lot of people were also there because they were escaping from something. Either they were escaping from, a horrible childhood, or they were looking to fill a void. And I noticed that they had no idea what they were going to do outside the ashram, which is also fine. But I also noticed that, when a lot of these people had left and, you'd interact with them, they were completely lost because they weren't able to create that sort of integration back into, taking all the beauty of the knowledge and the wisdom and applying the knowledge in order for them to see the results in their life. But for example, when you visit an ashram in India and you see a guru over there and, he is like your father that you never had or who was not present in your life. And all of a sudden you're so attached to the ashram, not really because of the knowledge or the wisdom, because the guru may be here today and not here tomorrow. And then again, you're left feeling that sort of void. And then you go back into the world and then you start doing everything that you were doing before. There's absolutely no change. And so that could be the downside of actually looking at anything outside of you, whether it's a retreat or an ashram or a monastery, to be able to get that sort of space of peace and presence that people are truly, genuinely actually looking for.
They are. But it's like when they go to the big conferences. They go to a Tony Robbins conference. They get hyped up for 5 days, and next you know, they leave and they go, what do I do?
I think it's only statistically a small percentage of people that actually do something with that knowledge and actually,
Exactly. And that's the thing. Like when you're going to do the thing, you need to make sure there's a plan and the reason why you're going in there. Like you said, a lot of people are escaping. I've met guys who live 6 months in a monastery, 6 months in Thailand. Right. And there was one guy, he's like, I've been doing this for 6 years. And he goes, I still haven't found inner peace. And I was like, well, that's where you're going wrong. Yeah. Because you're chasing something. It's like, we shouldn't be expecting, we shouldn't be attaching to an experience or just attaching to an outcome. Because at the end of the day, the biggest thing in Buddhism is attachment to suffering. Yeah. And it's like they're attaching to the goal of trying to find inner peace. It's like, no, you just don't attach to the outcome, you'll find it. Yeah. So when people are going in there trying to chase for these experiences, going, I want to either forget my childhood or want to do these sorts of things. At the end of the day, we're never going to forget.
Absolutely.
The experiences we've had in our life are part of our life.
Right.
We just turn the volume down on these things. We learn to understand them. We look at them with different perspectives. And when we learn to have compassion, not only for those moments, but for ourselves, when we come back into an integration in life,
right,
it's having that compassion going, okay, cool. I'm coming at this with a very different perspective. It's going to be a bit difficult, but I need to take my time and make sure I'm not falling back into the old habits.
Right.
Because again, the you that went in there is not the one that came out. If the one that went in there, so if you turn back into the one that went in there, then you haven't actually changed.
Amazing. And so what are 3 things that you learned at the ashram that you apply in your everyday life? Like what are
three things. Loving kindness is a big one. And that's loving kindness for everyone, but also myself. Yeah. To know there are still days, and that was like a massive part of my journey of my divorce, was learning to be okay with not being okay. Learning to love myself a lot more because I'd spent so many years not loving myself. So loving kindness is a big one. Again, the attachment is suffering. Don't get me wrong, it's not easy. We all get attached to things. But it's also knowing that it's a lot easier to release these things with love and to not get attached to it. Third one, meditation will change your life. If people think I can't meditate because they go, my mind doesn't stop. It's not about that. You're still able to meditate. It's like riding a bike. You fall off how many times, but you have to keep going. Absolutely. It's the same thing with meditation. It's just showing up every day, either using a mantra or using the breath and bringing yourself back to center. Absolutely. And just showing up, whether it's 5 minutes a day, but it will change your life.
I launched a course a couple of years ago called Meditation for the Modern Soul. And, we teach that when people are trying to quieten their mind, actually their mind is providing them with feedback of where they're not at peace in their life. So rather than trying to shut it off, it's actually pay attention to it and listen to what your mind is actually saying. Take a note of it. And like a loving child, once again, ask it to calm down and bring yourself back to the present without actually trying to force it to keep quiet and shut up.
Yes. But that's it. That's the loving kindness towards yourself. Yeah. You become the observer of the thoughts. You watch it happen. It's like, okay, cool. Great. Yeah. Gently bring it back. As even one thing that actually was so simple, but it changed a lot for me, is meditation. A lot of people go, okay, gently close your eyes to meditate. They go, but no, gently close your eyes. Because even the way you close your eyes before you go into a meditation is going to change the outcome of what it is. Absolutely. So, yeah.
And you also do something very powerful, which I absolutely love, breathwork. Yes. And that's the great, actually, it's the passageway into meditation.
100%. And that's why I started, because of having the ADHD brain, it just didn't stop. So I was like, okay, how do I quiet down? I can focus on breathwork. Where I do 5 rounds of holotropic breath. Absolutely. I'd slow down, and next, for 10 minutes, I could sit there and have silence. It was amazing. I know. So that's what got me into it. And then as things evolved when I came here, is I just started designing my own. Amazing. And I found, like, I'd done things like 9D, I'd done all those different breath works with the recordings, but I just didn't resonate because you don't work the energy in the room. Some parts may speak to you, but all of it. Yeah. Where by coming through and now guiding everything live, yes, I have my cues that I use, but I'm also judging off the energy around of the people that I can see. Right. So if I'm using in a certain part of my cues, but I see someone that's there and they're resisting, they're holding, they're not releasing, I can literally go, it's okay, surrender, release, you're safe. And that part, usually you always see them drop because it's out of nowhere. They've gone, okay, that person's talking to me. Right. And that's the bit. I don't do energy work on people either. I mean, it's a bit hard when they're in a pool. Absolutely, yeah. But I don't believe energy work. I believe a lot of what we see on social media is just for the video and the views. Yeah. I think if it's a lot of people have the energy within themselves. Yeah. It comes down to where they are here, whether they're going to let the energy move or not. Absolutely. So that's why I guide live. It's safe to let go is one of the most powerful affirmations I have discovered, because sometimes we find it so hard to let go of our old patterns, let go of the chaos, let go of a certain way of doing things. And especially if you're a control freak like I am, normally I think it's safe to let go has been such a powerful clearing. And I don't like to say it's an affirmation, actually. It's more like a clearing statement where the moment I do that, it's like I tear up and I'm letting go of something unconsciously, which I probably didn't even know I was holding on to. Yeah.
So, and you talk about something which is the morning routine. And I'm the biggest fan of the morning routine because all my friends think I'm absolutely crazy that I wake up at 5 a.m.
Yep.
But I feel, and then obviously we do the clearing statements, the breath work, the walking around in the sun, and it's just a game changer in life. So I would love for you to share your morning routine so I can get some more inspiration.
Okay. So my morning routine usually consists of, I'll get up, I'll go for a run.
Yeah.
No, sorry. Let me start from the start. I wake up, the second I wake up, I go, morning universe, it's going to be an amazing day. I'll then get up, I do 100 push-ups. I then go through, I get changed, I go for a run, and I'll run for about 5 kilometers. Come back in, I then stretch for 20 minutes. I then go through either a breath work and a meditation or then a meditation. As soon as I've done that, I go make breakfast, and then I do brain games. So I sit down and play Sudoku or something else just to get my brain in that. As soon as that's happened, I go for my shower. As soon as that's about 3 hours.
Wow.
And as soon as that happens, I'm good. Because that way I've done something. I've looked after physical, I've looked after my mental. And there was one other one which just completely escaped me. But yeah, I cover all the bases that I need to. That's the one. There we go. I cover all the bases before I start the day.
Amazing.
And from that is I find I'm a lot calmer, I think clearer. Again, it's much better.
And finally, let's talk about how you help people. I found you through Instagram because you were doing these amazing experiences all over Dubai at the Burj Al Arab, the Aura Sky pool, and you're doing breath work in these beautiful infinity pools. So can you share a little bit more about that?
Yes. So launching the 5th of June, we'll be doing every Thursday night, we'll be doing the Burj Al Arab floating immersive breath work, which will be guided by myself. Then you have every second Sunday, we do Aura Sky Pool on the Palm, which again, same thing, floating immersive breathwork guided by myself. Other things I do, I run online guided meditations and online guided breathworks. That way it gets everyone all around the world as well. There's a place here I'm in talks with called Alchemy to be able to do breathworks and meditations. But I also do coaching online as well.
Lovely.
So yeah.
And what are some of the issues people are struggling with right now, with this constant, in the world we live in today, which is pretty crazy. Burnout.
Yeah,
I hear you.
Burnout is, and look, I'm guilty of myself, especially the past few weeks as I've been going through a process of moving house.
Yeah.
Like I mentioned earlier, I'm living quite far away, and I've got a lot that I have to be doing. So I'm still up at 6 a.m. and I'm going to bed at 10 or 11. So I'm guilty for it as well at times. But it's in a world which is so fast paced, especially here in Dubai. Everyone is constantly, I need to be doing this. If I'm not moving forward, I'm not succeeding. So burnout is one of the biggest problems that I find a lot of us are facing. And again, the complete fix to that is self-care.
Absolutely.
So yeah.
Amazing.
Thank you.
Ash, it was lovely, the conversation, and it was so lovely having you. Before we end, any last thoughts, any quotes, any recommended books, anything that you'd like to share with our listeners?
I mean, everything's gone blank now. Now that you've asked the question, everything's gone blank.
You're in meditative state.
I'm just like, I feel very calm now. Look, I think at the end of the day, if people are wanting to find happiness, stop looking externally. Stop waiting for the car. Stop waiting for the house. Stop waiting for the girlfriend or boyfriend. Stop waiting for the holiday. Like, it starts with 5 minutes a day, just having time to yourself, journaling, 5 minutes of breath work, whatever it is. Take that time for yourself. Create that time for yourself. I know there's a lot of people that they go, but I'm a single mother and I'm doing this and I'm looking after it. Look, I completely get it. 5 minutes is all you need. You don't need to change your routine, but give yourself that 5 minutes. As time goes on, people will find the more they go inwards and they have this quietness, they can actually increase the time because things around them start getting easier because they don't have the resistance anymore. And that's why a lot of us struggle, because we're constantly in resistance.
Right.
So the more we go inwards, the less resistance we find.
Absolutely. So one last rapid fire question, and you can only choose one.
Go.
Happiness or peace?
Peace.
Thanks. Well, thank you so much to our listeners for tuning in to yet another episode of the Illuminations World podcast. This was amazing and I truly enjoyed it. If you like this episode, please subscribe to the channel, share it with your friends, and spread the love and spread the light. Until then, see you soon. Take care and live light. Thanks for tuning in to the Illuminations Podcast. We love having you here. It is our mission to be a beacon of light on your journey towards conscious and mindful living. In our weekly episode, we bring you inspiring change makers in the field of spirituality, healing, personal growth, and wellness who share their insight and expertise so you can navigate your way to a happier, healthier, and more purposeful life.